Hello guys, welcome to Cloud Raga. So in previous video we understood how configuration of Hibernate works. The configuration is all about hibernate.cfg.xml file. So we saw and we talked about delete and show SQL. And this is the property which prints the queries. Either you want to print them or not, it's totally up to you. Usually when we are working with development environment, so we keep them true so we can see what kind of queries generated. Once we are in production mode, definitely we don't want to expose our queries as well. So we don't uh, you know make this true in production code. So this goes like this way. Okay, so this was about echoing. So it will just print certain steps, but definitely it won't print the insert query. We have clearly mentioned that don't print SQL. So Hibernate will comply and you won't get anything as per the SQL queries. Okay, let's talk about the next file, the important file actually, Hibernate or HbUtils file. What's the purpose of this file? Let me make it true. Okay. What's the purpose of this file? To have this method and get the reference of session factory, because once you have session factory you can acquire session, from that you can acquire transaction, you can persist your Java object, and then later you can flush all the contents you're trying to save from Java to database side. Then you can close the connection as well. So this whole thing starts from session factory. So you need to obtain the session factory reference. How? By writing out this line. You guys can see there's some similarity. If I open again that configuration file, the root tag name is Hibernate configuration, and then there is a sub tag is session factory. So that means session factory is holding up all these features. Of course, these are not the only features. You can have multiple features out there, but at least I just want to keep it minimal. So that's why we need this much at least. This is the requirement if you want to work with Hibernate application. Okay, the idea is we have everything inside this session factory tag, and how to read this file. It cannot just read by its own. You need to refer that I want to read this file. So where is that code to read hibernate.cfg.xml from this src main resources? By the way, this is the file or the class standard service registry builder. What this class will do, it calls a config method right here, and we can actually check the source code. So I'm just holding the control button, clicking on this configure method, and if I expand this, it's inside this dot class file. And because of Maven, guys, that's the one big purpose of having Maven. It can load the source code as well. That's the whole purpose of Maven. One of the features you can say. Okay, it returns some standard service registry builder. That's fine. And there's a method configure. It takes some string. This is a static kind of final string. And if I check this out, hold control and click, there it is, public static final string, and check out even in the Hibernate configuration files they have mentioned hibernate.cfg.xml. So yep, through this line we are actually trying to read the configuration file. So I hope it starts making sense why we have this file now. It reads your configuration file from the class path. Not even trying, it says reads the file from the class path. As of now, what's the class path name? src main resources. src main resources. Okay guys, so that's how it works. That's the first line which reads the configuration file. Then what? It gives you a metadata source. Once you have metadata source, it's just a helper class. From that meta source, you can call one method, get metadata builder. And that metadata builder returns your object metadata. This is all about data about the configuration file. Whatever you have in the configuration file, you're trying to read that XML and convert back it to a class. That class is session factory. So by using the reference metadata, we are trying to say get session factory builder and build the object. Once this line executes, it returns a session factory that goes inside a reference SF. And then if everything was fine, it returns back the. So where we are using this method? Inside our tester file. There it is. So we are saying HbUtils.get session factory. So this is kind of common stuff you need to acquire a session factory. So what we did, we just extracted that piece of code, put somewhere outside so we can reuse it multiple times. Just following the same dry feature. Don't repeat yourself. If some code you feel that this is kind of common and you want to reuse it again, better to extract that code and put it somewhere at a centralized location like some kind of utility package, so later you can reuse it. And same thing I did, I have created this method static, so no need of object of this class, directly I can access that with the class name. Then I have the session factory object with the reference. I'm trying to open the session. Once I have the session, I'm trying to begin a transaction, and once it's done, you can create your object and then save it. Right, we need to save that object. So that's done. Once it's done, make sure you are flushing it from Java end to backend end. And Hibernate is a mediator. It takes Java object and save it back to the database as a table. So your class name by default treated as a table name, and the field name like ID, type, model becomes the column name. We saw that earlier, so if you check again, so ID, model and type, these are the fields in the class, and the table name was, sorry, the Java class name was vehicle. So Hibernate by default reads your class name, converts it to a table, and reads all the fields and convert them into columns. And the values goes in a row, like 3 private ABC. That's the column here. 3 ABC and private. So that's how these files works together. And the last file was vehicle, the most important file, which is going to be saved as a table. So how does it knows? Hibernate knows that this class has to be saved because of this entity annotation. Every Pojo class, if you mark that class as entity, so that becomes a persistable class. You can save that class to database. The condition is that class must have this @id annotation because Hibernate needs a primary key. Without primary key, it cannot create any class. So, yep, we have seen 2 annotations so far. Of course, in upcoming classes, we will use some more annotations and we will see what's the requirement, then we will use them. Lastly, once you are done with the entity, make sure you are registering it inside XML file right here. Mapping tag takes the class names and just give the fully qualified name. It means package plus your class name, and that's done. Just run the tester file from the main method because we are just writing a standalone application, so there is no helper technology, so we have to run this whole thing because we are just learning Hibernate only, so we can focus on Hibernate contents. So we will use main method, and you run this code and you'll get the output in terms of table. So your class becomes table. That's what Hibernate do, and soon we'll see some more features about Hibernate and discuss about it. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Still there's a confusion, make sure you are writing this in comment. I'll definitely reply you guys there. Thanks for watching this video. Bye bye.